Scarecrow. Biographical information. Full name: Professor Jonathan Crane. Occupation: psychiatrist, formerly university professor, formerly professional criminal, criminal mastermind, terrorist. Base of operations: Blackgate, Arkham Asylum, Gotham City. Affiliations: Joker, Arkham Knight, formerly Deathstroke. Physical description: hair, brown, eyes, blue. Height, 6 feet, weight, 140 pounds. Game information: voice actor Dino Andrade, Arkham Asylum, John Noble, Arkham Knight. First appearance: World's Finest Comics #3, Fall 1941. Taunted and bullied in his youth, Jonathan Crane vowed to overcome his fears voraciously through the study of psychology and biochemistry on phobias and the nature of fear. After Crane was kicked out of the university that he taught at for experimenting on human subjects, he adopted the identity of the Scarecrow, and armed himself with a specialized fear-inducing gas that made a person's deepest phobia become frighteningly real. Scarecrow's ongoing reign of terror made him one of Batman's most recurring and psychologically dangerous foes. Crane was brutally mauled by the mutated criminal, Killer Croc, and exacted his revenge on Batman and Gotham City with his allies, the mysterious Arkham Knight and the former assassin, Deathstroke. He served as the tertiary antagonist of Arkham Asylum, and the main antagonist of Arkham Knight. Incident report: life at Blackgate Prison. Jonathan Crane became a professor of psychology and psychiatry to overcome his fears of being teased by his classmates for his obsession with his studies. He was an employee at Blackgate Prison to research on fear and nightmares. Crane then made a gas that induced fear in his patients. Crane ran his tests on the criminals in the prison to improve his toxin. Before Arkham Asylum incident, Scarecrow was later incarcerated at Arkham Asylum as the Suicide Squad arrived. While incarcerated, Crane caused at least two of his doctors, Dr. Murphy and Dr. Combs, to suffer fear toxin-induced breakdowns and was eventually referred to Dr. Stephen Kellerman 3 weeks later. Despite Kellerman's attempts to treat him, Crane acted as though he were conducting the sessions, even dictated notes, and was simply patronizing the other doctor. Crane toyed with Kellerman during each session, shared his philosophy on fear as the driving force behind the human condition, and even used everyday examples from the therapist's supposedly fulfilling life as evidence. These meetings rattled Kellerman, who came to believe that Crane was simply sadistic rather than insane. Crane's mind games were actually having even more of an effect on Kellerman due to the fear toxin chemicals that he had incorporated into his cologne, and was also exposed to the guards who brought him to each session. This was part of a plan to further Scarecrow's research, who rigged the medical facility's air conditioning system to flood the building with the rest of his latest fear toxin formula. Everyone exposed to both components began to hallucinate their worst nightmares. Before Crane could continue, Batman crashed into the room. Kellerman had realized what his patient was up to, and provided the Dark Knight with a sample of the toxin to create an antidote, which he gave to Aaron Cash to disperse through the rigged air conditioning system. Scarecrow was amazed that Batman seemed to be unaffected by the gas, then gleeful when he implied that he was being affected as much as anyone else. Despite his pleas to learn what kind of vision his nemesis had seen, Crane was defeated, arrested, and returned to his cell, and lost once again to the Dark Knight's willpower. Even though Scarecrow was returned to Arkham, he continued his plans from a secret loft that was hidden at the intensive treatment center, and plotted his next move with some stolen blueprints of the asylum. The birth of Scarecrow. Years later, Crane became the Scarecrow, one of Gotham's emerging supervillains, who specialized in inflicting fear on others with his self-designed toxin known as fear gas. Arkham Asylum incident. Scarecrow was one of the Arkham inmates on the Joker's party list, and who was released during the Clown Prince of Crime's takeover of Arkham Island, both to distract Batman and for the Joker's general amusement. Batman tracked a hostage commissioner, Gordon, to the island's medical facility. After he rescued several captive medical staff, Batman took out a raiding party of thugs before he took the elevator to the lower levels to follow Gordon's forensic trail of tobacco. The Joker taunted Batman through the Asylum CCTV system, and considered to just release the elevator from its cables, but only as a joke. As Batman made his way into the bowels of the facility, he began coughing on a colorless gas that was being remotely pumped into the elevator. Batman found the secure access corridor under the control of Scarecrow, and the murdered body of Jim Gordon. His mind reeling from one of his greatest fears, Batman attempted to hunt Scarecrow down, only to find himself in the morgue, where he was confronted by the animated corpses of FHI's parents and a twisted obstacle course that was overseen by a giant, omnipotent Scarecrow. After he realized that he was experiencing a fear toxin hallucination, hallucination, Batman overcame the delusion by avoiding the delusional Scarecrow's fiery gaze, used Abbott's signal as a symbol of his willpower, and shined its light directly into Scarecrow. Batman returned to the scene to discover that the body had actually been an unnamed, though still deceased, security guard. Scarecrow was long gone. Over the course of the night, Batman uncovered the mystery of the Titan formula and investigated the Arkham mansion to find either drive Penelope Younger to destroy her notes. He managed the latter, but the Joker wasn't outdone yet, and sent Victor ZSASZ after Dr. Young. Batman raced off to find her, but was gassed by Scarecrow again. Batman was trapped as a helpless child in a hallucination of the night that his parents were murdered, and walked down a seemingly never-ending hall that turned into Crime Alley. He overcame this part of the delusion by remembering the kind words of a younger Jim Gordon, returned to his adult state, used all his skills to once again avoid the Scarecrow's gaze, and illuminated him with the bat signal. Batman managed to free himself a second time, but he was too late to prevent ZSASZ from taking drive Young hostage in the warden's office. As the night wore on, Batman learned of a plant spore in the Asylum sewer system that would help him concoct an antidote to the Titan formula and returned to the intensive treatment center to retrieve it from Killer Croc's lair. As Batman made his way to the elevators, he experienced a strange kind of vertigo. His vision was filled with static to the distorted sound of the Joker's laughter. The Joker arrived at Arkham in the Batmobile, and took Batman to the intensive treatment center. Batman ranted and raved, insisted that he hadn't killed that family, and demanded to be cut free. He resisted Drive Crane's attempts to examine him, who then declared him a lost cause and left him to the Joker's mercy. The Joker leveled his gun at Batman's head and fired at point-blank range. After he realized that he was suffering yet another fear toxin hallucination, Batman climbed out of his own grave and made his way past the cells that were full of other insane Batmen to find the bat signal. Just as Batman was about to free himself, the Scarecrow managed to inject him with more toxin, broke his grip, and sent him deeper into the delusion. Batman prevailed yet again, and defeated as many skeletal warriors as needed to strike Scarecrow with the 3 bat signals. His ambush foiled by Batman's impossible resilience, Scarecrow fled with a pouch full of his toxin, and took the elevator all the way down to the very bowels of the asylum. Once Batman had caught up, Scarecrow threatened to unleash the fear toxin into the underground river and flood the cabin and Gotham's water supply with nightmares. Before Scarecrow could make good on his threat, Killer Croc burst from the water, and attacked him for intruding in his lair. Batman hurled a batarang at Croc's electrified restraining collar, which stunned the monster. Croc vanished back into the water, and dragged a screaming Scarecrow down with him. Croc mauled and injured Crane.